Welcome back to the Morning Cafe right here on TV47. Remember, our hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47 at Twitter, or on Twitter rather, at TV47KE. That's our Twitter handle. Mine is at Eric_Mnene. Now, time now for some bit of politics. I'm joined by two great people right here on this set. The sun is scorching here in Makueni. Just a few hours ago when we were here, it was quite chilly, but now, as you can see, the sun is right on top of us. But I'm joined by two deputy governors. That is the deputy governor of Kisii, Josh Mahangi. Karibu sana to the set.
Asante Mnene.
Yes, and on his left is the deputy governor of Nyeri County, Dr. Caroline Karugu. Karibu.
Asante. Thank you very much.
Thank you for braving the traffic jam and all the inconveniences we have in Makueni just to make it here. Asante sana, we don't take it lightly. Yes. I want us to delve into some politics kidogo tu hapa na pale. Right now, the biggest news that is going to dominate the political scene today is that there's probably going to be a third horse in the presidential race. That is after the Mount Kenya Foundation met with the One Kenya Alliance. I want to hear your thoughts on that, Dr. Josh Mahangi.
You know, Mnene, I have said before in these interviews that in the 2022 presidential elections, there will be two horses. The rest will be donkeys. And when I said the two horses, I meant Raila Amolo Odinga and Dr. William Ruto. But with the joining of Mount Kenya with Oka, if it is true that Oka will sign a partnership or an agreement or create a working relationship with the entire Mount Kenya, and then it becomes a very serious third force. If Mount Kenya works with the Oka, and then it becomes a very serious third force. In fact, it may not be even a third force, maybe a second force. So if it goes through, remember, Oka has Musalia Mudavadi, yes, who is the king of Maragoli. He has Senator, the king of Bukusu.
Senator Moses Wetangula.
Moses Wetangula, the king of Bukusu. And the Bukusus and the Maragolis form pretty much 6% of the Luya community. So if they can bring the Bukusu people and the Maragol people, and Kalonzo Musyoka brings Kamba, and Gideon Moi brings a tiny fraction, very tiny fraction of Rift Valley, because 90, not 98% of Rift Valley is with William Ruto. So, but at least if you can bring those two communities, then add on them Mount Kenya, then it becomes a serious force. I will not underestimate it. I will not underestimate them.
Okay.
And because the people from Mount Kenya seem to have agreed that Martha Karua will be speaking for them. So if it is true that Martha Karua speaks for them, and Martha Karua is negotiating for an arrangement with Oka, you cannot take that for granted.
Okay, so Dr. Karugu, you.
Yes, I think like my colleague has said, one, the more the merrier. I think the more horses we have on the race, the better a platform that we give for Kenyans to choose. And indeed, it's an emancipation of maturity in our democracy. So let me first say that what happened yesterday was not Mount Kenya Foundation. It was Mount Kenya Unity Forum, the one whose spokesperson is Martha Karua, that had a meeting with Oka. And I think that is a brilliant step because the two of them, like he said, if the Mount Kenya Unity Forum would be able to unite with Oka, then you cannot underestimate that potential in terms of the ripple effects in the 2022 election. I think, though, we're still a bit far out in terms of the formations, the actual formations for 2022. It's good to see that leaders are open to dialogue. I'm not seeing hardliners. I'm not seeing hardline statements, which in itself, once again, is an emancipation of maturity and a demonstration that we are, as a democracy, we are maturing, to past, just hatred in politics, to leaders that can actually come together and forge a way forward. So for now, I think it's a brilliant thing that is happening, and like they said in their statement yesterday, that they will continue to have such dialogues across the board until they're able to look for like-minded coalitions, which will then shape the 2022 politics.
But before she finishes, Kenya, we are still playing what I would call tribal politics, regional politics. Your strength is measured in terms of how big is the people behind you, and how big is your tribe.
Isn't that quite unfortunate?
Very unfortunate, but it is the reality. So what happened yesterday is an attempt to bring these three communities together: the Luya, the Kamba, and the Kikuyu. So that you cannot ignore that. That is a very serious political statement. You cannot underestimate that.
It's a very big political statement, and that's why it's made it to the top of the standard. The Iron Lady leads Mount Kenya in deal with Oka chiefs.
Yes.
When you look at that picture there, on the front page of the standard, these politicians here are not your average, type of politicians. They're all heavyweights.
Yes.
You can see there's a KANU chairman Gideon Moi, the ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi, there's National Assembly Speaker, that is Justin Muturi, and former Kiambu Governor William Kabogo, who still has some support in Kiambu County. When you look at that picture, and I want to remain with you, Bwana DG, when you look at this picture, if this political statement were to now mutate from just a mere statement to an actual plan that they have, who amongst these lady and gentlemen would fly their flag?
In
your opinion?
In my honest opinion, that is still a bit premature, because there seems to be a general consensus that the next president should not come from Mount Kenya, but number two can come from Kenya. So you have to remove the entire Mount Kenya brigade from contention. That leaves Gideon Moi, Musalia Mudavadi, and Wetangula, and Kalonzo Musyoka. Now, you have to remove Gideon from the equation, because Gideon is from Rift Valley, where the king is William Ruto. So that leaves Kalonzo Musyoka and Musalia Mudavadi. It will be one of those two, or one will be president, the other will be running mate. I think that could be the direction we're headed. A Kalonzo Musalia or a Musalia Kalonzo ticket versus Raila Amolo Odinga plus another person ticket, and William Samoei Ruto plus another person ticket.
Bwana DG, knowing the side of the alliance that you lean towards to, I want to remain with you and ask you, why are you wishing away Gideon Moi? Let's say they settle on him. Do you think...
You don't know which side I'm leaning to.
Okay, so fair enough. So let me ask you, why are you wishing away Gideon Moi? What if these lady and gentlemen throw their weight behind Gideon Moi and decide, this is going to be our candidate? Don't you think, the other voting bloc that you call, Ruto's home turf, will feel, well, this tribal arithmetic, I think, now will favor one of our sons, and let's back him?
That would be far-fetched. That would be very far-fetched, because sometimes it's good to be realistic. As I said, your political strength in Kenya, unfortunately, is measured in terms of who do you come with the table. How many do you control your backyard? Unfortunately, Gideon Moi does not control his backyard. His backyard is controlled by William Ruto. I don't see people of Rift Valley abandoning William Ruto in favor of Gideon Moi. So if the Oka chiefs and the Mount Kenya were to be magnanimous enough and they give Gideon Moi a ticket, I think they would have wasted it.
Okay. Dr. Karugu, on to you. The Mount Kenya Forum leaders held hours-long talks, and they came out, and the picture there seems to suggest that there will be white smoke very, very soon. In your opinion, who do you think is going to fly their flag?
It's like I said, it's a bit early to predict that. If I was going to be asked who would be a good candidate for that unity, I would go for Mother Karo hands down. I think Mother Karo brings on board lots of experience. She's a courageous woman. She brings on board the woman vote. And let me say this, the next cycle of politics globally will have a very strong position for women in leadership. We will then be looking for women who have been through the ropes. And in this country, I do not think top of mind, hands down, another woman who brings, that on board. Having said that, I think it's still premature. And I think, like DG said, this group would actually, in my view, be looking and gunning at a strong deputy president position, more than a strong presidential candidate. In my view, how I see, and I could be wrong, but I see that formation being able to merge with one of either the deputy president's side or the Right Honorable Raila Odinga's side, and be able to, lobby for the deputy position. Now, the million-dollar question, of course, is then are they going to be able to agree and carry that spirit along till 2022? That is unlikely, because I've had a lot of them. Kalonzo Musyoka is making hardline statements saying he cannot be anybody's deputy anymore. Musalia Mudavadi is ready to go alone if Orca falls apart. Gideon Moi, I've seen Gideon Moi. Gideon Moi is playing a very interesting game, and you have seen him being able and opening his arms to all, apart from, of course, the side of Dr. William Ruto. He's been able to have a dialogue with a lot of these other leaders. So the million-dollar question then is, are they going to be able to agree on who amongst them will be suitable, but for a deputy president position? That is what I see shaping up in the future. Okay, sawa. Yes.
And you say you stand guided, but do you think all these politicians will spend hours just to aim for that, just to get the second in command position in the country?
Of course, with time and pressure, and as the political tension heightens, we will see, like I say, some jolting out, some creating formations, but it will end up shaping up into a two-horse race, right? And I think also something that a lot of those leaders may not be focusing on is being able to crystallize their backgrounds and their grounds, so that then you are able to negotiate based on, what you bring on the table in terms of, votes, and nationwide votes, because it's a national position. So that could be something that that is escaping their mind when I see them meeting in hotels and, having those small meetings. Somebody needs to tell them also to remember not to be... Not to be detached from the ground. Yes, there are some that are small. There's some that are just a cup of tea of two people, and you see them trending. Two people had a cup of tea, and it's the story, So some of them are pretty small tea meetings. Some are a little bigger, but I think they should remain connected to what's going on in their backyards and on the ground.
You also speak very passionately about women leadership. An interesting story right there on that page 8 of the Standard. Just below the main story, there's a question there. Will Karua and Waiguru play second fiddle in presidential race? You think either of them would now play second fiddle? They both feel that they're now ripe to be the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, if I can put it that way.
And rightfully so. Like I said, the next cycle of politics has a lot of room for women. We have seen what has gone on in the United States with Kamala Harris. We have seen Suluhu being president just next door. So the presidential candidate who will settle on a woman deputy president will have one edge, or a huge edge, above the other presidential candidates. And therefore, I'd like to encourage the presidential candidates to look at the women, the woman folk, with a different eye this time around, because the other nations have been able to demonstrate that women in leadership, can lead. And so I see that wave being able to be sustained until 2022 elections. And it's also the right thing to do. You know, pursuant to our Constitution, Article 27, we have a right to 50-50 chances, whether it's in the political scene, economic scene, social scene, cultural scene. We have women, just like men have that right. So it is the right of these two women who have propelled themselves to that level to say they are ripe for presidency or deputy presidency. And it shouldn't be a big debate. It is just like anybody else would, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But we won't discuss your affiliations, but I'll ask you a question. I'll ask you a question. Do you think whenever there's second in command, that's the DP or chief hustler, wherever he is, when he sees such a story, do you think he's worried?
Before I answer that question, let me make a very small comment on what my colleague, the two issues that she has introduced, very pertinent issues.
Yeah.
The issue of gender in the presidential race, and the issue of vice presidency, deputy presidency. You know, that is a very interesting point, in the sense, and then you asked, why will all these big chiefs be meeting and, discussing, and they're fighting for number two? I will tell you, they will meet and they continue meeting. Because if they'll be angling for number two, they will not be just be angling for number two. They'll be angling for them determining the direction of the presidential vote.
Yeah.
You see, if the four of them come together, or five of them, the Oka plus Mount Kenya, if they come together and become one team, and they say all we want is number two, you can be guaranteed that behind the scenes, they would have gotten the post of speaker, they could have gotten they could have negotiated 30, if not 40% of the cabinet positions. They would have negotiated a lot. Secondly, they will literally determine who becomes president. Because if you have asked me about William Ruto, I think wherever William Ruto is right now, he must be smiling. You know why he's smiling? Because Kalonzo Musyoka and Musalia Mudavadi have made it very clear that they are extremely reluctant to work with Tinga. Extremely reluctant to work with Tinga. Now, if that extreme reluctance remains, and if they are really jostling for a number two position, as Madam says here, and then they will not be chosen for number two to Tinga. Then they'll be chosen for number two to William. And if Oka and Mount Kenya join William, and then game shot, very in the morning, by 8 in the morning, it'll go me. Because again, allow me to be petty and go back to my tribal description of Kenyan politics. Because if they join William Ruto, it means Mount Kenya, that you're talking about Kikuyu, the Meru, Embu, together with the Kalenjins, the entire Kamatusa, plus Kambas, plus Luyas, the big four. See, we have 5 big tribes in Kenya. So the big four would have come together against one big tribe, that is the Luo tribe. So, I mean, if Oka plus Mount Kenya come together and join William Ruto, game shot. And so William must be smiling and hoping that that is the direction Madam said. Madam said she thinks they are chosen, they are preparing for number two. I think let me support her and add something else. Yeah. If they are chosen for number two, it's not just number two. It is determining the direction. You see, the reason why Ruto became very powerful in 2013 as a deputy president is because he determined the direction politics took. Because when he joined Uhuru Kenyatta in 2013 against all odds, I mean, it's the one who joined William Ruto. It's the one who joined Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
Now, the game was shot. He determined the direction. So you see, when you determine direction, you are kind of holding the key. If you withdraw it, then we're back to haywire. So if Oka and Mount Kenya decide that we are going to go for the deputy president position, that deputy president whom they will produce will be so powerful because he will have literally determined who has become president. He would have made whoever will become president. So that's why, like in 2013, there are those who were saying that Ruto made Uhuru president, president. It's not that he had more votes than Uhuru. It is that between Uhuru and Raila, it could have gone either way. Raila was very strong at that time. Remember, he was prime minister. He was a sitting prime minister.
Yes.
And he had partnered with Kalonzo, a sitting vice president. So they had the system, and Raila was in charge of half of the government. So they had the entire system behind them. So they were not a walkover. They were serious. They were a very serious team. So now William Ruto had joined Raila Amolo Odinga in 2007. And there's a popular belief that in 2007 Raila actually won. So even in 2013, William Ruto could have joined Raila Amolo Odinga once again. I think Raila could have gone hands down. But he chose to deny Raila his support and deliver that support to Uhuru Kenyatta. And that's how he won. So it's not that he had more votes than Uhuru. It is that he brought that crucial missing chunk. He brought that crucial missing chunk that made Uhuru win. So if the Oka teams, the Oka chiefs and Mount Kenya say that we are picking one of us, for example, she said Martha Karua. If they say we are picking Martha Karua for deputy president, Martha Karua will literally determine who becomes the president. She will literally determine who becomes president. And you can be sure if Martha Karua becomes deputy president, then right around there, Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia, a speaker will be around there, a chief minister will be around there. So you can't ignore them.
What do you mean?
You asked me a question about...
I'll still ask you about the chief minister position, but yeah, go ahead.
Yes, he asked me about how do I think William Ruto is feeling. I think William Ruto is smiling. He's smiling because the two gentlemen, Kalonzo and Musalia, have made it very clear that they will not be second. They will not play second fiddle to Raila. So if they are willing to play second fiddle, then it's not to Raila. Then it will be to him. So William must be smiling. I wish him well.
Sawa. I've heard what you've not said, and that's why I said we are not going to discuss your affiliations. but on that note, we take a very short break right here on Morning Cafe. We'll be right back. We'll talk a bit of history. Mheshimiwa Maangi has talked about the 2007 politics and everything that was surrounding the unity back between the Deputy President William Ruto and former PM Raila Odinga. We'll be right back in a few.
Entrepreneurs around the country are creatively grinding.
I started with a borrowed phone.
A borrowed phone?
Yeah, that could last 2 hours with charge.
We just have to do quality work for them.
To make their mark in an unpredictable market.
It was now going on a sales venture, looking for stockists door to door.
On the grind, we bring you their stories so you can tell yours. Every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Men are known to be the pillars.
We're rising up together.
Say your point. You need an alpha male now to come and help you and your girl.
Ameongea zero.
And women, they are the cornerstone that hold the pillars.
Don't be entitled. A man is peaceful, a man knows how to talk to a lady.
This November, the Men's Conference brings a cocktail of diverse ladies to weigh in on various matters.
Something I'd love more to see is men being able to exist as themselves.
Tune in every Wednesday at 10 p.m.
Hello guys, and welcome to Night In with Joy Irungu.
Heartbreak, pain, and tears have been a major part of Night In Season 1. We thank you for being with us on this journey, and for this upcoming season, we will bring you more empowering stories that not everyone is talking about.
This is the only show where we keep it authentic. which share our lifetime experiences, and you know what, tell every person that you can turn your pain into power.
Join Joy Irongo on Night In as we take the brave step of sharing.
The road to 2022 is becoming tougher.
Nyuma ya wheelbarrow kuna economic model.
And trickier with each passing day.
Niliwaambia washushe chini bei ya mafuta.
Political aspirants in a dilemma.
As we were going to the break, I said, I heard what you did not say because you are smiling, like the DP is apparently smiling. But this Mount Kenya Forum meeting together with the One Kenya Alliance group, do you think they might force a runoff?
No, if they join, the only way they will force a runoff if they remain independent and become a third force. If they become a third force, they will deny any of the two main horses a 50+1 win.
Okay.
If they produce one of them, if they make one of them a presidential candidate and he runs to the end, and then it's going to be very difficult for any one of the presidential candidates to get 50+1.
Okay.
But if they settle for deputy president position, whoever they will join will win. So there will be no runoff. Okay. And that's what I'm saying. It will be a very powerful decision because they will literally determine even how the campaign will be done.
Okay.
It will be done, yes.
So before we even talk about the position of Chief Minister, as you've said, and I think you'll tell us what you know that we might not know, myself and Madam DG here. Ama, you also know?
No.
You don't know about
he sounds like an insider.
Oh, okay, so you're glad to have an insider
I have
amongst us.
no idea what an insider.
So, Madam DG,
Yes.
do you think this alliance that is forming right now, do you think they can force a runoff? Remember, the deputy president just the other day dismissed an opinion poll that showed he has the support of at least 38% of Kenyans, and he said with a lot of authority that he has the backing of 54% of Kenyans. So in as much as Bwana DG can say that the DP is smiling, do you think when these people meet, they might force a runoff and that will spell doom for the DP's presidential ambitions?
First of all, it is a fact that the popularity of the DP is slowly dwindling. If, for instance, I was to go with the sentiment in Mount Kenya, where people have moved from being 100% pro-DP to beginning to be doubtful if that is the right direction, if those are a safe pair of hands. That seed of doubt in Mount Kenya has moved a chunk of his voter following, and I want to imagine that the same is being experienced across the country. Not from pro-Ruto to pro-somebody else, but from pro-Ruto to doubtful Ruto, which is a very precarious situation for Mount Kenya to be in, because Mount Kenya usually votes on fear. If we vote on fear, you have to show us who is the enemy or what cast an image of the enemy, and that is how we are able to come out duraku, and we all come out to vote. Yes, unlike my brother here whose region votes on hope, yes. Mount Kenya votes on fear, on the basis of fear. So if I've begun seeing is that doubt will soon convert into fear. Dangerous position for the deputy president. But having said that, there could be a runoff if this Oka Mount Kenya unity remain as a third horse. That could take us, into a runoff. And that is why I said there are discussions that I think shall be held at the right time. And I think that this particular group should be able to give us a strong deputy president for whichever side. Yeah. But if they remain and they stay strong and say they want to run as a faction, that throws a spanner in the works, and we could actually easily go into a runoff.
Okay, so
yes.
DG Josh Mangi, you've mentioned, before we went on the break, you mentioned about, all these people jostling for some positions and not necessarily the presidential one. And you mentioned something like the chief minister. Do you believe the BBI is going to come back after?
With or without the BBI, the post of chief minister already exists. Matiang is occupying it. It's already there. You see, the position of chief minister. And when in politics, when you introduce something, it's very difficult to take it back. Now, the president has introduced the position of a chief minister, but now it's called what? It's called chairman of the
cabinet.
Of the cabinet committee.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, that's the chief minister. That post is already there. And I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
Okay.
The next president will also pick his person and make him the chairman of the cabinet committee on implementation, which is exactly the same as that of a chief minister, if not prime minister. So I mean, out of the 4 chiefs, one will become deputy president, another one will become chief minister, or a cabinet minister, the chairman of the cabinet minister committee on implementation, which is the same as chief minister. Because actually, who is a chief minister? One who superintends over the other minister. That's exactly what Matiang does.
That's not what was contemplated in the BBI.
That's why I'm not talking about.
Right.
That's why I'm not talking about BBI.
Okay.
Remember, I didn't talk about prime minister. I spoke about chief minister. So I'm not talking about BBI. I'm talking about the current reality that we have a chief minister who is the prefect of other ministers. So you can imagine, come next year, when Mother Karua is deputy president, Musara Mudavadi is chief minister, and Kalonzo Musyoka is speaker of the National Assembly, and either William Ruto or Raila Odinga is president.
Okay. So, Bonadiji, I want to stay with you there.
Yes.
They say you have to know where you come from before knowing where you are going.
Yes.
You mentioned something about the 2007 politics, and the Daily Nation have been serializing a book by Raila's elder brother, that is Dr. Oburu Odinga, and on the front page they're saying the Mudavadi factor in the Ruto-Raila fallout. I want to ask you this: do you think Mudavadi can work with either of the two, and play the second fiddle?
Politics has no permanent enemies.
Okay.
Politics has permanent interests. In between 2007 and 2013, when Raila Odinga was prime minister with equal executive authority, purportedly, and therefore senior to Kalonzo Musyoka, who was deputy president, vice president to one of the principals. So naturally, he was junior to Raila. But it is Kalonzo Musyoka who gave Raila a very hard time. He gave Raila a very hard time. He never recognized Raila as a co-principal in that government. He saw him as a junior. He argued, I am the principal. Kalonzo argued that he was the principal assistant to the president. And therefore, even when they went to meetings, he insisted on reading the people that was there. So it was one biggest problem to Raila Odinga. But in 2013, in fact, there are those who say that while the Nusumukata government did very well, they tried their level best, they could have done better if Kalonzo had not spent most of his time. Could have done better. But in 2013, yes, who was Raila's running mate? Kalonzo Musyoka. Because they thought if they worked together, they will win. So trust me. I do understand, I don't know, I've not read the Nation, but it's common knowledge that in 2007, William Ruto failed a little bit cheated because he failed that he played in the presumed win of Raila Odinga. But when it came to rewarding, who did Raila Odinga make deputy prime minister? Mudavadi.
Okay.
So I believe there is rumors that William may not have liked that. But what I am saying is that I am telling you they will not think about that. They will not spend a second thinking about that. I've given you the example of 2013.
Yeah.
I will give you another example.
Kindly do.
The current president and the current and his handshake partner, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. In 2013 and 2017, the president used to campaign and call Raila Amolo Odinga.
Don't say it. It's okay.
I will not say
okay.
it. Everybody knows what they used to say.
Yeah.
And everybody knows what Raila Amolo Odinga used to call both William and Uhuru. You know, unprintables. That's why I can't say it here on live TV, isn't it?
Yeah.
But look at where the president and Raila Amolo Odinga are today. Bosom buddies, brothers. They eat from the same spoon. They eat from the same spoon. So why would you think William and Musalia will not eat from the same spoon when their interests match? When their interests align, they'll eat from the same spoon.
Okay, so your thoughts on that, Madam DG? You've been in politics. I believe for long, but not very, very vocal. But you have been there. You've been in the political scene. And I'm sure you must have known what really happened in 2007. Now there's the Mudavadi factor that made apparently Ruto and Raila not see eye to eye with each other. And as he says, in politics they're only permanent interests. I want to hear your views on that.
The truth is, I have been in politics from I like to call it row number 4. From the more strategic, behind the scenes, kind of politics for many years, from the days of Kibaki. And I remember at that time, Kibaki and Raila were not great friends. Those days of Nusu Mukeka, and I remember how Kalonzo Musyoka would try what was called the shuttle diplomacy.
Oh, okay.
So this country, and like my colleague says, politics. We've been, I think, the best country to demonstrate that politics has really no permanent enemies.
Yes.
Because you have seen people switching positions, and I started this show by saying what we are seeing now is people sitting and conversing and having tea, and those groups switching. So we are likely to continue to see a lot of that, which in my view is a wonderful thing for our democracy. So you cannot rule out any combinations right now. You cannot rule out Ruto Kalonzo combination. You cannot rule out a lot of combinations, and permutations. But there's another question that's coming from the ground: is why is it we do not have new leaders? Why is it every 5 years it's a game of musical chairs? It's the same faces looking for the same jobs and getting all of us involved. And I think there's something interesting that perhaps you've not covered in this show. And a very interesting proportion of the voter population, which is the next elections, is the youth. The below 40s who perhaps do not have historical, or even if they have the historical knowledge of what happened in 2007 and what happened, it doesn't for them change the price of bread. And that is why, to a great extent, the hustler narrative had taken that much traction, because these are people who have not benefited, or actually they do not seem to care about matters, history and things like that. So two things: one, it would be interesting to see new and fresh faces come to the platform, but knowing Kenya politics as what it is, like you said, it's tribal, so I don't know how well that would go. But that, I think, is an agenda that can be pushed by the younger voters, by the below 40 voter population. And I think they have a good shot at it if they're able, one, to come together and say this is exactly what we want as the youth of this nation. We want fresh faces, we want fresh agendas, and I think that in itself will be an interesting dimension to watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want us to switch gears and talk about something else, something of public interest, and that's about matter security. We saw the other day the DCI boss George Kinoti being sentenced to 4 months in prison, and you know, they say you be careful about what you wish for, because you know you might just get it.
It might just happen.
Yeah, he said there's a time he said that he'd rather go to jail than, you know, return Jimmy Wanjigi's guns. That's the presidential aspirant Jimmy Wanjigi. Now the matter has escalated to the point that the AG now has to go to court to halt that arrest. What are your thoughts on that?
One, I think that arrest warrant is a demonstration or sent a very strong signal in the country that anybody can be arrested or can be sentenced, you know. So that in itself is a very strong statement. However, I'm worried about the uptake or what happened after. It's one thing to say jail, DCI Kinoti. It's the other. I saw memes going around that he's laughing it off, that if you're a strong askari, you'll be the one to go with the, you know, with the handcuffs and get Kinoti. So it's in my view, it's you know, it's a catch-22 situation. It demonstrates that it doesn't matter who you are in this country, you actually can be sentenced. You actually can be, you know, sentenced to go to jail. But how it plays out will either give confidence or lack of it. And so far, I see lack of it, because we are not seeing Kinoti going to jail anytime soon. So it's not sending the right signal. At the same time, at the point of sentencing, it did send a very strong signal. We would like to see a lot of people jailed. We would like to see these people who have been named in huge corruption cases jailed. But what do we see in Kenya? All of them are going to be in the ballot. And we are all going to be saying, afadhali mwizi wetu, isn't it? Mwizi wetu at least anaiba akituletea, you know. And I like something that Mother Karua said the other day. I think she was in Nyeri when she said that. She said when someone steals a whole chicken and then boils the feet and brings you the feet and the soup, and you're singing and saying, afadhali mwizi wetu, because ametuletea something, just look at the body part, anakuletea miguu, you know. So we would like to see a lot more of those arrests. And I think that would instill extra confidence. But how they are playing out right now, I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
So before you ask me a question, allow me to add something.
Very briefly, because I want us to go on a very brief break.
Okay. So this thing about Kinoti, she says that we are on a catch-22. I don't think we are on a catch-22. This is a straightforward thing. Kinoti disobeyed the law, and I mean, a country survives on its fidelity to the law.
Okay.
If we are a country that respects the rule of law, we must obey the law. Yeah. Now, a charge, the way the Kenyan system works, we are a charge comes to court, an impartial person. One will prosecute this case, the other will defend. Now, if what's the name of the man who was the man who is accused of having lost his gun?
Jimmy Wanjigi.
Now, if Jimmy Wanjigi goes to court and it says that this man, the CIA, took my gun that I was licensed legally to hold away, is denying my rights. The right procedure is for the DCI to go to that court and explain the charge that, because that's what he has been doing outside, and tell the charge that, you know, we took away that gun pursuant to an order from the licensing gun, because the licensing board had withdrawn Wanjigi's license. Then he will say, because the licensing board had withdrawn Wanjigi's license, and after we took away those guns, we surrendered them to the licensing board. So I have no authority to pick the guns from wherever they are and give them to Kinoti. I keep on forgetting that.
Are you sure?
Jimmy Wanjigi.
So
he's a presidential candidate for crying out loud.
So that kind of arrogance is what's going to break this country. Yes. You want them that the DCI feels so senior, so big, that he could not spend 10 minutes to go to court, or even could have sent the Attorney General. He doesn't have to go himself. He could have sent the Attorney General's representative, a state council, to go and explain that, listen, I don't have those guns to give to Wanji, because the court do not act in vain. The court cannot assume that whatever DCI is speaking out there can be imported to the court. It needs to be brought to the court format. So if we are going to develop, if we are going to grow as a country, we must respect the rule of law.
So in your opinion, do you think he's going to jail?
I refuse to say, because it sets a very bad precedent. It said, of course, he does not want to go to jail, but it sets a very bad precedent.
But just to get back to you, how are we doing as a country in terms of following the rule of law? I mean, we are. The bunge is unconstitutional. In fact, I was just reading some jokes the other day that Kenya in itself could actually soon be declared unconstitutional. So because we are,
my colleague has taken over your job.
No,
she's not giving me. I will respond.
We're having a conversation.
I needed to hear what you think about that.
The truth is that we are on a wrong path. As you have said, Bunge, our law-making body, our legislature has been declared unconstitutional. There are a number of acts of parliament that have been declared unconstitutional. There are a number of presidential acts that have been declared unconstitutional. So, I mean, if a court pronounces itself, and if we respect the rule of law, there's a way to deal with it. You can go to appeal, or you can even negotiate. I mean, you can go to appeal or you can negotiate. But you cannot disobey a court order openly. Because, now let's go back to the example of the DCI. So if the DCI disobeys a court order openly, so why would he enforce another court order? Against who? If court orders cannot be enforced against him, why would he enforce court orders against other people?
I think it's safe enough to say that we are a country that is
we're sliding into the wrong direction.
Sliding into the wrong direction.
And thank you, Michael.
Matters,
matters
following the rule of law. It can only, and the unfortunate thing about that is that it is a certain class. There is a certain class that don't have that latitude or that privilege to whether to follow a court order or not, or if you're to be jailed, you'll be jailed. You'll be in. So the unfortunate bit is that and that's the mass. The mass are subjected to following the law, but we have a certain class, and I think, in my view, for posterity, that's an extremely dangerous position to be in.
Well, asante sana, and I'm thanking you as my co-host. After this, I'm going to talk to the HR.
Oh, thank you. You know what? I'm happy to take up a job. I'm happy to moonlight. I will moonlight.
So let's switch our gears again. We were talking about matters justice and its dispensation, and you've talked about a certain class feeling like it's special. Former Governor Mike Sonko has been doing what he terms as Sonko leaks. He's exposing the alleged rot in the judiciary, and he is saying, I think that is on page 6 of the Standard today, he's saying, I am not done yet, more leaks to come. So I want to hear your views about this and what you think about Sonko, having to settle things in this manner.
Well, I think what's going on with Governor Sonko, even though I'm not, I'm not holding brief for him, and mine is just from an observation point of view. I think what he's doing is that he's expressing his displeasure and his frustration with the judicial process that have been subjected. He has been subjected through. So, in my view, it's nothing but just he has experienced some frustration and displeasure, and he feels that is the right way, to air out what he thinks, is happening. I think, however, if I was him, there would be a better way to go about it. But like we say, it might be that he has gotten to the end, that maybe he's tried all other channels, and that last resort is now then doing what he's saying is exposing the judiciary for what it is. And we've had also those complaints coming even from His Excellency the President on the judiciary. So whether they're true or not, that's not my place to determine. But we have had, of course, pockets of complaints. However, you could actually, when you hear the complaints, you could actually think that the whole judiciary is rotten. And I do not think that that is so. We have a lot of hope with the change of the Chief Justice, Madam Martha Koome. And we are hoping that a lot of things will be regularized in her tenure as President of the Judiciary. But like I said, it's just a matter of wait and see, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Bonadiji, your thoughts on that?
I will stick to the side of the rule of law. I think what Sonko is doing is extremely wrong. And he's scaling churches away from living as human beings. These churches are human beings. You can meet them, you can have a chat. So if you are having a chat with a church, and then you mention to him that, by the way, I have a case before you. The church, most churches that I know, I'm a lawyer myself, most churches I know will respond to you and tell you, I'm sorry, I cannot discuss that, okay? And that will be it. But if you were the Sonko type that was keen on fixing somebody, you want to edit that audio and add some fun response, because the question that he's asking or the requests are very clear. The responses are not very clear. Very clear. So nobody knows what the response was. Now, if I was Sonko, I would follow the rule of law. If you want to have a church impeached, or if you want to have a church not handle your case, you apply for recusal. Why didn't he apply for recusal? Because he was hoping that it would benefit. So, I mean, to me, this sounds like sour grapes. You can sour grapes. Jilted. Sour grapes, yes. Like sour grapes. Because, I mean, if he knew that this man was going to be biased, he could have applied for recusal. Secondly, if he thinks he has concrete evidence, he could have followed the law, not through social media. We must respect the rule of law. And let me make a statement that may sound true, but it's true. It is wrong to imagine that 100% of the churches in Kenya are perfect. It's wrong. Even anywhere in the world, there will be a rotten egg here and there. But I want to tell you confidently, and at my age, and as a lawyer, I will tell you that most of the people who are judges who were either together in college at the same time, or in high school at the same time. So, or we met in some legal, because I graduated in the earlier 90s, which means most of the churches, I will actually know them. And I will tell you a bigger percentage, almost 95% of the churches are good. But you can never miss one rotten egg here and there. Okay. That's life. So for Sonko to try and bring down the entire judiciary, because his case he didn't get the desired result, is unfortunate.
Okay. So, thank you. Let's now take a break. Let's now take a very, very short break. I am with the DG Nyeri, Dr. Caroline Karugo, and the DG Kisii, as Josh Maangi. We're discussing a wide range of issues right here on TV47, the home of Untold Story. We're live in Makueni. The sun is right overhead. That's why you're seeing us struggle to face each other. But
big struggle.
So let's take a very, very short break. We'll be right back.
Entrepreneurs around the country are creatively grinding.
I started with a borrowed phone.
A borrowed phone?
Yeah, that could last 2 hours with charge.
We just have to do quality work for them.
To make their mark in an unpredictable market.
It was now going on a sales venture, looking for stockists door to door.
On the grind, we bring you their stories so you can tell yours. Every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Men are known to be the pillars.
We're rising up together.
Say your point.
You need an alpha male now to come and help you and your girl.
Hi, ameongea zero.
And women, they are the cornerstone that hold the pillars.
Don't be entitled. A man is peaceful, a man knows how to talk to a lady.
This November, the Men's Conference brings a cocktail of diverse ladies to weigh in on various matters.
Something I'd love more to see is men being able to exist as themselves.
Tune in every Wednesday at 10 p.m.
Hello guys, and welcome to Night In with Joy Irungu. Joy Irungu. Joy Irungu.
Heartbreak, pain, and tears have been a major part of Night In Season 1. We thank you for being with us on this journey, and for this upcoming season, we will bring you more empowering stories that not everyone is talking about.
This is the only show where we keep it authentic. We share our lifetime experiences, and you know what? Tell every person that you can turn your pain into power.
Join Joy Irungu on Night In as we take the brave step of sharing.
The road to 2022 is becoming tougher.
Nyuma ya wheelbarrow kuna economic model.
And trickier with each passing day.
Niliwaambia washushe chini bei ya mafuta.
Political aspirants in a dilemma whether to change allegiance or not.
How has Raila and the handshake made Jubilee lose focus?
We really would want to ask this as we wrap this up about this topic, and this goes to you, Madam DG. Is there really a way, is there really a defined way of settling scores, especially when it comes to matters justice?
I believe there is. I believe, in fact, there is a stratified way of settling matters or disputes, you know, per se. You know, you could choose to speak about it. If that doesn't work, you could choose to look for an arbitrator. If that doesn't work, then you could choose to go to court, you know. So there are many ways of, you know, settling disputes. And like I said, for Governor Sonko, I think, in my view, and like I said, I'm not holding brief for him. He hasn't sent me to say this, but I think his is just, he's expressing in the best way he knows how. His frustration with his experience, you know, at the judiciary, having, you know, gone through different courts and different judges. I think he's letting out that sort of frustration in the best way he knows how. As to whether the ways he's doing it is right or wrong, the jury is still out. Some people think that is the right way. We must begin to air some of these things. We must begin to be vocal about it. Others think, would there be a better way to, you know, to be able to regularize some of these frustrations? Yeah.
I want us to shift our focus to what really has brought us here in Makueni, the Devolution Conference. But before we do that, on page 14 of the Standard, I don't know if you got your copies of the Standard today, there's a very interesting question there. It's an article, and the headline there is, "Are MCAs a lynch mob or defenders of devolution?" Governors Mike Sonko, Ferdinand Waititu, and Wajeris Mohamed Abdi were impeached. And they have done an exclusive interview with the governance expert, Bobby Mkangi, a devolution expert, who says that MCAs have been acting as a lynch mob. I want to get your views about that, and then I'll tailor make that question for the DG. I don't know why you're laughing for Madam DG. You know why I will tailor make it.
I see you from very far.
You see me from very far.
Yeah.
You know why I'm also laughing is because you indicated that you talk to your Human Resources Department.
Yeah, because she asked you a question, and a very valid one, by the way.
She has a case in court. She's kind of idle now, so you could use some moonlight.
I will talk
now,
to her.
let me, before I answer your question, let me say something about Sonko. You know, the mistake that is Sonko. Sonko is my friend. We know each other very well. So I would not want to say something that is bad about him. But the truth is that he's a very cantankerous man. And, you know, this is why sometimes we must blame the IBC. You know, the law is very clear on who should be cleared to run for governor, or to run for MP, or to run for president. So when you clear people to run for governor, people with questionable backgrounds, questionable characters, just because they appear to be popular, it is wrong. If everybody who's popular was to be allowed to run for an elected position, then there will be no need to have an IBC clearing you. So the reason why we have IBC to clear people is to confirm that this person has the right attitude and attitude to govern a county. So when you allow someone like Sonko to be governor of Nairobi, to run for governor of Nairobi, honestly speaking, you are setting him for failure. Yeah, because he lacks the mental and intellectual capacity to effectively manage a city the caliber of Nairobi. So now, this is a problem. This is a problem we cause ourselves. IBC should be clear, should be very careful on who it clears. We have governors, I'm sure to say this, who have questionable degrees, but they have been able to buy their way through, and they're governors. So if you know that this man doesn't have a degree, and he was able to use a loophole in the law and remain as a governor, and yet one of the qualifications for governorship is possession of a degree from a recognized university, not from American university. You know, we have a very popular university in America called American University, which is not recognized, but everybody gets a F1. When you go to America, you get an F1 form from American University, you go. So we need to be careful and follow the law. Now, having said that, let me come to the question you asked me. What was the question?
The question was about the MCAs. Are
yes,
they
about
a lynch
MCA
mob
being a lynch mob.
Or defenders of the Constitution?
I was actually trying to avoid it. I was trying to avoid it because in Kisii County, I have a very good working relationship with the MCAs in Kisii County. Majority of them are my friends. We work for a while. So in Kisii County, have they been a lynch mob? No. In other counties, would you say that they have been a lynch mob? I am not sure. I'm not sure because, you know, Munene, the law on impeachment is very clear. You know you can't impeach me because you don't like my face. You cannot impeach me because somebody has bribed you. Because if you impeach me because you don't like my face, or you impeach me because somebody else paid you to do that, I'll go to court. And the court will nullify that. Remember, Wambora was impeached. He went all the way to the Supreme Court, to the Court of Appeal, and they won. So if you impeach a governor or a deputy governor on insufficient grounds, the court will rectify that. And that's why I keep on saying courts of law must be respected. A court of law is the one that will determine if Uhuru is president or not. So if Uhuru Kenyatta can obey a court order and they say, I'm not going to be sworn in, why should the DCI not obey a court order? He should not put himself in a situation whereby he will be given an arbitrary court order. So MCAs, I know there are those who may argue that they rushed the impeachment process for Waititu, for Sonko. So the question I'll ask, are you wronging them on procedure or on substance? Are you saying that there were enough grounds to impeach Waititu, only that they did not follow the procedure, they did not take the number of days they were needed to take. Are you saying that there were enough grounds to impeach Sonko, only that the MCS rushed it? If it's procedure versus substance, that's a different case. But to a larger extent, I will say MCS are not necessarily eligible. At least from my experience in Kisii. But there's a lot of misunderstanding on devolution, and that's why we are here.
Yeah.
Devolution has not been fully understood. The role of MCAs has not been fully appreciated and accepted. Like us, as deputy governors, the role of deputy governors has not been fully appreciated and accepted. Okay. I may have a wonderful working relationship with my governor, and you know, off the record, right now, my relationship with my governor is fantabulous.
Let's
but then, just a minute. But then, our
take...
relationship with his governor is not exactly the same. Okay. So devolution has not been well understood yet. So the role of MCAs may be misunderstood. Okay. But I don't think they're eligible.
Madam DG?
Yes.
Do you align to his sentiments, ama kuna vile kidogo you'd like to go a different direction?
You know when we say that the MCAs are a lynch mob, that I feel like is a blanket condemnation. It's the way you can say all these people are good or all these people are bad. Devolution, just like any other cycle or any other phenomena, has taken about 10 years for people to really crystallize and internalize what it is and what it is not. I remember when I became DG, I would sit in my office and, you know, someone would bring me a dispute that, you know, my husband beat me yesterday, and I asked, have you reported the police station? No, I've come to report to you, the governor. So you have to begin to tell them the first port of call in such an incident is the police station, and then these are the procedures. But because of the political nature of how or any political or any constitutional change is inspired by, we lose a lot of meaning. A lot is lost through the cracks. When we go bananas and oranges, and we go this politician versus the other, we totally lose a lot of content in between. So devolution now is a lot more understood, having been, now with us for some time. But I do not think that 100% we have also understood, both we, the electorate, and the leaders as well. And I say that because as something my colleague said, saying that do we know what to expect from our MCAs? Because when you go to the ground, you hear people saying our MCA is doing wonderful things, he's doing roads, but is an MCA supposed to be in the development agenda or in the oversight agenda? So we are still going through a bit of teething problems in terms of the electorate getting to understand the mandates, of their leaders, and the leaders themselves being able to understand, when I'm in office, this is what I'm supposed to do. There are some constitutional offices that have detailed, they have detailed job descriptions. They know exactly this is what you are supposed to do. However, in this country, the office of the deputy president and the office of the deputy governor have no job description. And I think I was very active about it during BBI.
What do you mean they don't have a clear JD?
Article 179, 180 of the Constitution says that a deputy governor will deputize a governor, and that's it. So what is deputizing? Is deputizing, for some governors, like my governor, deputizing is you report to his office every morning. For other governors is that we sit, we agree that this is the plan, and this is where I want you to help. For other governors, it's actually giving you a portfolio. So the fact that there is this lacuna in law gives a lot of sort of open-ended space for deputy governors and even for the deputy president, because the only difference between the jurisdiction of the deputy president and the deputy governors is that the deputy president is given, is it IBEC? Yes, to IBEC to chair. Okay. But and then that is in law. No one can take that away from the deputy president. But a deputy governor is asked to just deputize, which deputization is not defined in law. And when I heard of the BBI, we put together a memorandum with the deputy governors. I have just been elected as the chair of deputy governors. We went to Senator Haji, we lobbied him and said, if really we are relooking at the constitution, ensure that the deputy governors of this country actually have a job that they do morning to evening, and that the electorate knows that this is what to expect from a deputy governor. And we had actually suggested, give the deputy governors a portfolio. For instance, if you have, like Nyeri County, we have 10 portfolios. Let one of those portfolios be anchored in the office of the deputy governor. What have you done by doing so? You have ensured that this person has something that they are doing morning to evening. You have also ensured that this person, can be called by the county assembly and asked, what are you doing with, for instance, your docket? So this person becomes a person who is also accountable. You have also ensured that this person who is paid a lot of money, who has staff around them, is just not mwananchi money that is going to waste. It is that people can see this is a person whose salary we are paying, but this is the output of that salary. So I made a very strong bid during the BBI season, and I'm still very hopeful that we can be able to change our constitution and ensure the office of the deputy president and the office of deputy governors actually have portfolios. The days of the previous constitution, we had, for instance, Kibaki was vice president and minister for home affairs. He had something, because just being vice president means what? That you go to occasions and you sit next to the president. That is not a job, And this is someone who you're paying by using taxpayers' money. Right. So it only makes sense that these people actually get portfolios, or we cancel those offices in total. We say we do not need deputies, because you cannot have somebody who is being paid that much and only staying as insurance. That the only time a deputy governor is useful is in the event the governor dies, is in the event the governor is bankrupt. That is the only time that this person who is paid every day by Mwananchi will become useful. And I have been very passionate about it. I have not stopped lobbying, and I'm hoping that even within the next political dispensation, that we will be able, we'll be able to regularize some of these things. And part of it is what inspired me to take my boss to court. It is part of the things that I'm in court about. And even when they reached out to say, let's settle the matter out of court, I said, I do not think I want to settle this matter out of court, because it's not a personal matter. It's not that Karugu versus Kahiga. It's, no. This is a bigger issue.
Just hold on.
Yeah.
Let's hold on kidogo for that to pass.
The bosses have started to arrive.
The big boys.
The big boys have started to arrive. So I was saying, I am in court because I want the courts to pronounce themselves on this pertinent issue of the dignity and the work of the deputy governors. Because without that ruling and with the constitution being as is, we remain being, flower girls, sometimes first ladies, sometimes you don't even know what you are. So it's important for the courts to pronounce themselves on the dignity of the offices of the deputy governors, and it is a big part of why I am in court today. Yeah.
Sawa. So I'll not even make that question that I was to ask you.
But I would like to say something about it.
Okay. Sawa.
And here I will beg the indulgence of my colleague. Me and
you also want to be my co-host?
No, I want to respond to what she has said.
Sawa.
I want to give a different opinion, because this is something that I know I will regret after I've said it, because my colleague deputy governors will be on my neck, including my friend here.
Okay.
This thing about deputy governors getting a defined role is something that I may be in the minority, and I have a lot of respect for my colleague. I was chairman of the Forum for Deputy Governors, and I handed over to her. So we are friends, we are good friends. But on this one, we hold divergent views. My opinion about the deputy governor or a deputy president having a constitutionally defined role will fly against the role of a president or a governor being the final authority in the county or in the country.
Okay.
Why do I say this? Number one, nowhere in the world do we have deputy governors or vice presidents with divine authority. It's not there. The primary duty of a deputy governor or a deputy president is to be the principal assistant to the governor or the president. To be principal assistant means that you do literally everything the governor does or he asks you to do. Now, if, allow me to explain this. If
Sorry, it's okay, it's okay. Just go ahead.
If, for example, let us say that the Constitution makes the DG to be the Minister for Finance, CC for Finance, constitutionally. So he is the final authority in matters finance.
Yes.
So anything finance doesn't go to the governor. It becomes constitutional, makes the final authority. And then the governor will not be in charge of the entire 10 portfolios. It means that the governor will be managing 9 portfolios. One portfolio will be managed by the DG. So you cannot hold the governor accountable for that portfolio that is statutorily given to the DG. We have to be careful here. Nowhere in the world is that done. And that is why, I think the problem we have here in Kenya is that devolution is still young. People have not fully acknowledged how devolution works. So people have not acknowledged the role, like now, she has said very correctly, that Mama comes to office and says, she's telling a DG. Because they have not understood the role of a DG. So the role of a DG is to be a principal assistant and to step in wherever there's a vacuum in terms of the government. Okay. So for me, if you ask me my honest opinion, and I say this in good faith, and I know majority of my DGs will lynch me for this, but I think constitutionally or statutorily assigning a role to deputy governors, they will have taken it away from the governor. Okay. So then the governor cannot be the overall boss. So, Madam here says, it would be nice if she has one portfolio. A good governor will give you a portfolio, but you still report to him because the overall boss. A bad governor will leave you idle. Okay. So, but if the law gives you a portfolio, then it has excluded the governor from superintending over that portfolio. I've given you the example of finance. Let's even take the example of education. Let's even take the example of administration.
But shouldn't that be anchored on law?
No, if you anchor it in law...
Because now if you anchor it on personalities, say if there's a good governor, then the DG gets to work. If it's a bad governor...
I'm actually waiting for him to finish his point.
Yes. If you anchor it in law, please hear me out. If you anchor it in law, then you will have excluded the governor in law.
No, not
from
necessarily.
Superintending certain functions in the county.
No,
because if the Constitution,
if
the Constitution makes me the final person in matters finance, then I will not report the governor. So that means that the governor will not be in charge of finance in the county. If the law makes me the final person in matters administration, it means that the law will have no say in matters of administration. So I think we need to grow as a country. Nowhere in the world are deputy governors given a specific role, but we need to grow. The problem we have here is attitude. For example, and this is my last comment. In Nyeri, where my colleague comes from, they have lost governors twice.
Oh,
so they unfortunately, may God rest their souls in peace. So the people of Nyeri, next time they go to elect a governor, they'll be very careful. They will ask who is your deputy, because your deputy could take over any minute. They have taken over twice. In Nyamira, the next time they go to elect, they want to ask the governor who is your deputy, because they know Nyaribo is now the governor.
Okay, so
in Bomet. So the role of deputy governors is going to evolve slowly, and they will occupy their rightful position. That's my belief.
A quick rejoinder.
Let me just respond to that issue, and I think he's right. He's right when he says this is a matter we can never agree on, because it's a matter I even have researched on in depth. When we say that deputy governors should have a portfolio, we are not saying that these deputy governors should have a portfolio that is excluded from reporting to the governor. A CEC portfolio, based on the County Government Act, says that you sign a performance contract with the governor. So what we are saying, let this deputy governor with a portfolio, there is the issue of deputizing. That is aside. You cannot be sacked. You cannot. That's a separate conversation. But the portfolio you hold, you will be a normal CEC, just like when the county assemblies are doubtful and want to do oversight over your portfolio, they call you. The governor sits you down. That can be, like I said, can be anchored both in the Constitution and in the County Government Act. That the deputy governor has a portfolio, signs a performance contract with the boss, and says, this is what I will deliver. And the oversight body remains the county assembly. That does not preclude the governor from liability on that particular portfolio. There is nowhere that we are saying that now that is your portfolio, that now that is your kingdom as a deputy governor, then now we have started another pillar of no. And when I hear him speak, and I know his story very well, and how he has they have almost at some point gone head to head with his boss. I want to ask how short a memory my dear brother would have. And when he says it's an issue of attitude, are we going to sit and wait for attitudes of governors to change, so that then we have this lot of deputy governors who are doing nothing or who are being humiliated because we are waiting for attitude to change? Attitude is something that we cannot manage, just like we cannot legislate relationships of between two employees, between governor and deputy. We cannot also legislate matters attitude. We cannot say, so how will we know when we are electing a governor who will have a good attitude towards the deputy governor? That's a different conversation. That's why we say plain and clear, put it in the Constitution. When you come in, you know you have a job that you do. You're not just being told you're a principal. What does principal assistant mean? Principal assistant means that today I am called, I go and type documents. Tomorrow I carry the briefcase. What if the governor calls me and tells me, come and iron my shirt tomorrow? I'll be a principal assistant. Come on now. Let us legislate these issues.
Let me say one minute.
1 minute, and you also give us your final comments about this, the devolution conference.
I told you this is a very emotive subject, and I know I'll be linked by my colleagues. But I'm saying this out of principle, and I'm saying this because it is the truth. I know deputy governors have been mistreated, and as she said, I'm no exception. But then that does not mean that because you have been mistreated, you do something that is not right. Now, let me ask my sister here, it's a rhetorical question. She's saying that you become a normal CC. A normal CC is appointed by the governor. So you cannot be a normal CC if you are appointed by the Constitution. If you are appointed by the Constitution, then you can't be fired. A normal CC can be hired or fired. So if you are going to be appointed as a CC constitutionally, then you are not a normal CC. The governor cannot control you. That's why I'm saying, for me, honestly speaking, I think we should give ourselves time to grow. Let's look at what happens in other jurisdictions.
It's too expensive. We can't afford to. As we wait for us to grow, it's too expensive.
And just because I've not been treated well as a deputy governor does not mean that I take a drastic stage and propose an amendment that I believe in law will be ubiquitous. I am uncomfortable with it. It's my opinion. I could be wrong. As my closing remarks, let me say it.
It's good that you say that you are a minority.
Yes, I know. I'm a minority.
Of deputy governors, and the majority of Kenyans want to see what they are paying their deputy governors to do, and it's their right.
I am a minority.
As you wrap this up,
but, and the minorities can always have their...
Less than a minute.
A minority can always have their say, but the majority can always have their way. So the majority will have their way, but as a minority, I've had my say. I want to thank you for this time. I want to tell the people of Kenya not to give up on devolution. Devolution is happening, and it's going to continue happening. And devolution, if you look at the devolution family in Kenya today, it is everywhere. Governors, senators, deputy governors, MCAs, speakers, county employees, we are everywhere. In terms of service delivery, I think 65% of service delivery is being handled by the counties, if not 70% of the service delivery. So devolution is a good thing, but we have not reached where we wanted to reach. For example, in terms of devolving funds to the counties, we're not there yet. The cardinal principle in devolution was that funds were to follow functions, meaning we were supposed to, quantify the function, see how much money is needed in that function, then we restart money to the counties. That has not happened. For example, the function of health, which is fully devolved, the function of agriculture, which is fully devolved, but we still have billions of money in agriculture still lying in Nairobi. We have billions of money in health lying in Nairobi. And that's why the Minister of Health now decides to buy equipment for us. So we are saying...
Unfortunately, we have to end it right now.
Yes, yes. So we are saying that if the national government, central government can obey the principles of devolution, devolution is what this country needs.
Madam DG, 20 seconds.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. Devolution is working. There's a lot more that needs to be done. Apart from clamoring for more finances, I think there's a lot more that needs to be done to ensure that these finances actually get to the grassroots and are doing what they're earmarked to do. So in terms of accountability, I think devolution is yet to get there. But in terms of the amount of money that is coming to the grassroots, I also think that a little bit can be done. And like I said, it's normal to go through the first 10 years of understanding a new phenomenon, understand the teething problems. Yeah. So what we have experienced during the first 10 years of devolution was expected by the drafters of the 2010 Constitution. Okay. Let's also not be high-handed and not want to change the Constitution for personal matters. Let us be open to enriching our Constitution and enriching devolution itself, so that we strengthen especially the devolved units and the wards, so that the devolution finances are able to reach the very mwananchi at the grassroots. I thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Dr. Caroline Karugu, the DG for Nyeri.